This video actually stems from my first battle, which was Michael versus Jason the Truth. Doing extremely well. It's almost a 20K already. Very proud of that video. I had a lot of fun doing it, but I noticed one of the arguments popping up in the comment section evolves around basically confusion on who Michael Myers is. You know, if we're going to represent him in a battle, we got to properly represent what he is. And they were saying, you know, it's contested what Michael Myers is. Is he a human that's basically a crackhead and just wilding out to kill this person? Or is he something more? Is he evolved? Or is he something different entirely? So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go back through the research I've done, highlight things from movies, comics, all that. But it's mostly comics I'm using because they do explain why they're very ambiguous in the movies. It helps with the horror element of the franchise. But I'm going to examine everything and try to solve the case of Michael Myers. In particular, what is the source of his evil? Is it human or is it not? Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. No, I'm just kidding. But if you like content like this, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the like button. Hit the comment section if you want to see me examine another character like this. But anyways, we're going to go over the stuff I have with me. The evidence, I believe, points us in a specific direction, and overall my conclusion on the case. So first up, we're going to talk about what makes a human. So the argument for being human basically derives from the argument about the human soul. How we will interpret that for this case is the human soul means it is your ethereal, almost, intangible essence that defines either a human or an animal, your spirit. Okay, so basically that is what it is, but it's specifically tied to the sentience of humans and some animals. All right. So does he have a soul? That's what we have to look at, because one of the biggest things used to define humans is their ability to have the spiritual soul. So even by age 6, so we already knew this when homeboy Mikey was real young, right? Mike was beyond even fundamental emotions and reasoning. This, of course, is kind of displayed in a flashback, flash forward situation, but a lot of this had to do with the fact that Mike was examined at a young age, okay? Mike was doing hood rat stuff before he was in middle school. Literally, by the age of 7, he was institutionalized, being researched, being studied by Dr. Loomis, the famous Dr. Loomis. And by the way, if I remember, I'll drop a link to some of the comic books if you want to read them. I really do think the Michael Myers book comics are really good. They're just creepy at some points. But anyways, so by age 7, he's already being examined on a fundamental level by Loomis, because Loomis is looking at if I don't know how often y'all have been around younger kids at 6 or 7, but obviously their mind isn't developed fully. Damn sure their moral compass and all that isn't developed fully. Right and wrong. They don't know certain things. They don't know how to do certain things. What made Mike so horrifying at this age was Dr. Loomis understood pretty early on that not only was Michael aware of his actions, he fully understood what he was doing. He fully understood the implications and the ramifications of his actions, and he did it anyway with absolutely zero emotion. See, that's where things get really crazy with Mike. It's not necessarily the fact that he's crazy. It's the fact that he is consistently methodical, where people write him off as crazy. That's where he becomes so lethal, is because you see him walking around, you see him moving slow, you see him being slow. Even in the comics when he was young, not wearing a mask, he was kind of viewed as somebody who was kind of observing but not much going on. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. Like Mike, and it's stated by Dr. Loomis, even at 6 or 7, had an almost supernatural awareness of his surroundings, everything going on, who he was beefing with, who he wanted to kill, who he hated, who he didn't like. It's just you weren't able to prove he was doing these things, and you weren't able to prove he was emotionally invested. See, when someone gets emotional, it's easy to blame them, right? So you hear someone screaming, and then a fight breaks out. Like, you hear them screaming, cussing at someone. saying like, yeah, bitch hit me, something crazy, right? It's easy to blame them because they were loud. Everyone's like, yo, that's the loud guy. That's the guy making the noise. He's likely the one doing all the problems too. That's not how Lil Mike Myers worked, okay? This fat kid ate his cake once. Mike got him back later. No emotion at all. Turned the shower up and burnt him alive. The reason this was horrible is because Mike was a little older at this time. And Mike was aware this child had mental development issues. This child was not a normal child. He had cognitive issues. He had development issues, very slow. And he saw cake and he's fat and he started eating it. It is what it is, man. Some people see cake, they start eating it. Some see, I love pizza. If I see pizza and it's available, I'll probably eat it. You know, it is what it is. People like that stuff. Mike did not like it, but the problem was you couldn't tell. So it's not like he was giving any indications of a get back or a scheme. And Mike would just get you back, and a lot of times was killing people even early on. So Loomis, when observing this, he makes so many notes throughout the comics that are so fascinating about Michael, because he says, Mike, I know you're not stupid. In fact, you're probably by far the smartest creature in this facility. Like, period. Adult, kids, doesn't matter. Mike's the GOAT. But there's another thing he said. He said, look, you're also pure evil. So he understood that on a fundamental level, Mike was different. Mike was different than other kids, like other kids and humans in general. It was not a humane place he was coming from. Now, here's another interesting thing that they bring up in the comics, right? Halloween has a lot more meaning in this verse than what we think. See, this reminds me of a kid I went to school with. I won't use his name, but man, we're in kindergarten actually. And I remember his mom came in, and she was one of the moms where she would like sit behind him and watch him color shit just to make sure he was coloring right. And like, she was always on his ass to do good, and he got good grades and all that. But I remember one time he was sitting with me, and I was like, yo, are you going to trick-or-treating tonight? And he said no. And I was like, okay. Like, I'm not the kind, even when I was little, I wasn't the kind to want an explanation. Like, it's what it, we'll keep it moving, dog. But his mom went on to tell me about how Halloween is the weakening of the divide between here and the spirit world, and that the spirits come out during Halloweens and snatch the children and all that shit, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm 5. I don't know how to say it, but I want to say, you're full of shit, lady. But anyways, that's relevant because that's actually what they go for in this verse. A lady specifically says, hey, just so you know, the idea of Halloween being the weakening of the barrier between here and the afterlife, that's legitimate. She said magic's real in this verse. Magic, demonic things are real. Something else you got to keep in mind, she said, is the idea of a mask during this time. A mask, with its mystic symbolism in this verse and in some cultures, is supposed to symbolize becoming something else or protecting yourself from something. Warding evil off with a mask. Warding hate off with a mask, right? But she said, you can take ideas like that, even those peaceful, nice ideas, and you can flip them and make them evil. Basically what she's saying is the mask of Michael became more than what it was. It literally did become his mask to become something more evil. His way to just fully become something more. That's her reasoning for it. I actually disagree with her. I don't think the mask at all is what made little Mikey, and I have my reasons for that. Now, the reason this isn't my belief about the whole, he developed it, is because a lot of things indicate that's not the case. First, and by the way, if you could tell, I'm getting a little more excited. It's because your boy's getting close to solving his first case on the channel. But anyways, we are going to look at the notes first, taken by Loomis at some point, written in, I believe, a coffee shop. And then we're going to move on to a couple other things that happened in the stories. Okay, so first he said, within that boy is something primal, something hideous that has always existed to destroy us. It cannot be stopped. Death itself, given life by our innate fears and desires. Then he had one more page written. The summer's end isn't brought by evil spirits, nor ghosts, or witches, but by the unconscious mind. We are all afraid of the dark within ourselves. So, where am I going with that? Couple places. One, throughout several runs in the comics, Mike is often referred to as the void, the nightmare, the endless evil that swallows up life and dreams itself. An inevitability that'll happen. Well, just like the sun will set and the sun will rise and the night will fall, Mike will appear. That's how. So I'm looking at all this. I'm reading director notes, creator notes. There's these little phrases they keep dropping. Like, at first, Mike was a killer, but he became more than that. He became a symbol. He became an idea. And I think this really bled through when we started getting the cooler origin stories, the cooler life stories in the comic books. The fact is, Michael Myers is not human. Not only that, Mike was never human. They go as far as to say in the comics that Michael Myers would have been Michael Myers even if he did not have the family he had, even if he did not have the childhood he had. That's what makes him so terrifying, is because he's an inevitability. He was always going to be easy to get into the murder game because he's not human. Even Loomis said when he was a kid, he said, look, I can't psychologically evaluate you. You're beyond it because psychology breaks down the human mind. What drives Michael Myers, even in his youth, is not human. And then one of his victims looked him in his eyes. And this is, at the time, Mike was full grown, wearing the mask. And when she looked him in the eye, she didn't know him from before. She saw his childhood. She saw him bathed in blood. She saw the eyes of the devil. She saw what he was going to do, what he had already done, all these things. And then he killed her. So, to me, I'm like, you can't mind hacks like that. She can't possibly know these things unless he's showing. And then they show another victim of his saying, Mike is cognitively aware of everything on a fundamental level, to the point where you could argue he probably controls all our fates. He's just that monster at the end of the hallway, the dark in that part of your mind that'll never go away. It's always there. As soon as you turn your back, as soon as you turn that light off, it's there in the back of your mind. That darker part of the room that you don't trust. That's the idea behind Michael Myers. The mask gives him nothing more than power behind that and helps induce this endless ritual of hate and Halloween and violence and murder, because the mask emphasizes what makes Mike so scary: the unknown. The mask takes away the humanity of him. If you were to see a human face, you would more than likely attribute him to being human. You would see him as human. The best example I can give of something being humanized, off the top of my head, Batman vs. Superman. I know a lot of people hated that movie, but kick rocks. Anyway, when Batman had him pinned down and Superman said, "Save Martha," it humanized Superman for him because Martha was his mom's name. That's a human thing. A face, the face of a human, will humanize even a demon. It will. Whether we like it or not, in some ways it will. And that mask takes you away that ability to relate to him, to humanize him. It dehumanizes him because he isn't human. He never was. Mike is, at the very least, a pawn of the devil, sent here to play the devil's game and have fun while doing it. So in the end, according to Detective YFV, in the case of Michael Myers, is he human? Based on my evidence, absolutely not. He is not human. He's demonic in nature. He was an inevitability. He was always going to happen. He is just a demonic killer figure stuck in an endless ritual of performing these horrible actions, and that's why people love him and keep watching his movie, even though he has 37 movies. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Big thanks to everyone that supported the original Michael vs. Jason video. That did really well. I hope you liked this video as well. If you like content like this with horror movies and character breakdowns, please hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the notification bell because I'm aware you guys aren't always getting notified of my videos. But anyways, it's been your boy YFV, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.